Hey guys, and welcome back to Monner's Market, or welcome to Monner's Market. If this is your first time, I am so excited that you're here. Today what I'm going to be doing is some rewinds. Now the reason I'm having to do that is because I have been so stinking swamped with orders that I completely forgot to record anything that I was doing this past week. So what I thought I would do is go back into my archives, and which is not very much because I've only been here for 2 minutes, but go back to some of the things that very few of you saw and just kind of redo them. So I went back to 3 different videos and picked out 3 of my favorite things that I've done and just did a little rewind. I've seen other people doing that, and I thought it would be like a year or 2 before I ever had to do that, but I mean, it is what it is, and I completely forgot to record anything this week. So I hope you enjoy what I've got for you today. So for DIY number 1, I found this old planner that I've had out in my shed forever and ever, or my barn, whatever you want to call it. And I just love the detail on it, but it was old and rusty, and it just really needed a facelift. So I'm using this can to kind of show you how big it is, because it was fairly big. And this is the color that I'm going to be using. It's a satin almond. And all I did was just kind of sanded it down. I did that off camera, but I sanded it down to get some of that old rust off. And then I just spray painted it with this almond paint until I got it really, really good and covered. I would spray and spin and spray and spin, and then flipped it upside down once that was dry until I got the whole thing covered. So once that first coat dried, I went back in and just gave it another coat just to make sure that I didn't miss any of those spots, and just gave it a really, really good coverage. So once it was dry, I took it inside and found some ribbon. Now, everybody is so in love with these little red trucks. And I found this ribbon at Walmart. I think it was like $5.96 or $5.98, something like that. So I just took some ribbon off of that little red truck. Y'all ignore my mess around my table. At this time, I was doing a ton of different things, and that's my sweet little granddaughter helping me pick it up. But I had so many projects going on and just kept filming. You see that little bow right there? That came on top of the roll to show you what it would look like in a bow. So I took advantage of that and used that little bow to make my bow, and I just thought it turned out too cute. So once I got my little bow made, I tied it to the top. Well, not really tied it, but zip tied it to the top of that little planner. And then I took, and you'll see in just a minute, a piece of styrofoam from the Dollar Tree and some reindeer moss from the Dollar Tree. And I just took some hot glue and glued it all around that little piece of foam until it was completely covered. Now be careful if you do that, because you will burn the snot out of your hand and your fingers. But it was really the only way I could figure out how to get that reindeer moss in there around that foam without it all falling out everywhere. And it turned out okay. You'll see in just a minute. I fought with that bow for just a little bit. But once I got the styrofoam placed down in there, it was just a matter of taking some picks from the Dollar Tree and adding them to it. And I just had some little holly berry picks and some poinsettias. I think I had 2 holly berry picks and 1 poinsettia pick. And that was it. I stuck them down in there, and it was that simple, that quick, and that easy. Now you'll see that glass right there. My first thought was to put it down in that glass. and had the glass kind of sticking up over the top. But I just didn't like that when I did that, so I left that completely out since I didn't use it. But that's why I'm pulling that reindeer moss out of that glass jar. And this is where I'm just hot gluing it around. And like I said, be super careful because it will burn you. I don't believe I burnt myself here. It's been a hot minute since I done it, but I just know that hot glue gets super hot, especially with this particular glue gun because it's a Ryobi cordless. And I don't think I've ever had a hot glue gun get as hot as that one does, ever. So if you're looking for a good, very hot glue gun, then this is your glue gun. It was only like $20 at the Home Depot. It wasn't too bad at all. But I got my little foam all done and put down in there. Yep, that is Chloe. My grandkids come over at different times, and they love to help me craft. And I don't never know who's who by just their little feet, but that was definitely Chloe. Yeah, that's her. But that's it. That's all there was to it, and this is how it turned out. So let me know down in the comments what you think about how it turned out. And I think I have, what, 3, 4, 5, probably $6 if you want to count that little bit of ribbon that I took off that roll. There's a whole bunch of ribbon on that roll still, and I've used very little, especially considering I used that little bow that came already on top of the package. But that's it. That's all there was to it. So leave me in the comments a little message about how you think that turned out. And if you wouldn't mind, stop real quick and reach down there and give me a big thumbs up. I'll see all the time where I'll have sometimes upwards to 100 views and only 4 or 5 likes. I mean, do you not like it, or are you just not taking the time to click that little thumbs up? I'm not sure. So if you would, just click real quick and give me a big thumbs up. It really, really helps to support my channel that I am desperately trying to keep it growing. Okay, for DIY number 2, I'm going to do a couple of tier trays. Now, what I use to make these is a pizza pan from the Dollar Tree, 3 candlesticks from the Dollar Tree, and a set of burner covers that I got from the Dollar Tree. So you can see where I just took one for the small one. I took the small burner cover and a candlestick, used E6000 and hot glue and glued them together. And then for the bigger one, I put the pizza pan on the bottom, 2 candlesticks that were kind of butted tip to tip and glued with some E6000 and hot glue, and then the bigger burner cover for the top. So then I just took them outside and spray painted them all white. I gave them one just really good coat of white spray paint and let them dry. And then once they were really good and dry, I brought them back in, and this is where I gave them a wood grain look, just a faux wood grain look that I used some alcohol inks to do. Now this is the easiest process in the world. It looks intimidating, but it's not. I pulled out all those 4 colors, but only ended up using 2 colors. On the bigger one, I used this latte. It's a little bit lighter. Well, I'm actually doing the top of the smaller burner cover here. And then I'll go back in just a minute and start the bigger tier tray. Get my tongue untied, I can talk to you. So I used the latte. I said lighter a second ago, but it's not. It's the darker of the 2 that I used. Used the latte on the top here and done the top. And I must have got sidetracked. I don't know why I did the top of the little one and then went straight over to the bigger tier tray, but it's been a while, so I don't remember what my thought process was at the time. But you see that alcohol ink going on. Now what you want to do is you want to use a dry paintbrush that is designated specifically for your alcohol inks. Once you put your alcohol ink on there, on the whatever you're wood graining. You want to give it a white coat of paint, and then take your alcohol ink and run it in a line, and just run your brush, and make sure you stay in one direction too. Now you see that little knot at the top where I was kind of dabbing around in a circle? That was just to make like a little faux knot. But you want to make sure that you keep your wood grain going in one direction, just like wood grows up in one direction. So I put that to the side and started on the bigger tier tray. And this time I'm using latte and caramel. But I didn't like how dark that little stripe right there was. So I ended up not using it. But it kind of ended up, when you'll see when I'm through in just a minute, that it didn't look too bad having it there because, you know, trees in real life have variations of color anyway. So I actually kind of liked the way that turned out. But whenever you are doing your wood grain, it is as simple as running a streak of that alcohol ink in one direction and just wipe until your brush is dry. And it only takes a few seconds for your brush to be dry. And you want to make sure that when you do your next line, you're getting it really close to where you just stop, so it overlaps a little bit. Because right there where you're overlapping your alcohol ink is where you are going to get that wood grain effect. And here I'm just trying to build a little knot in the wood like you would see in a tree. And you just do it exactly like I'm doing it. You just kind of put the ink on there and let it sort of spread out itself a little bit, and then just wipe up the edges, you know, like sort of take your paintbrush and just kind of go around the edges, brushing the alcohol ink outward. And that's it. That's really simple. And then just watch as I continue to take the alcohol ink, put it on and brush until my brush is dry, which, like I said, only takes a few seconds, and then just continue until the whole thing is done. And like I said, that's it. It's that simple. And it just gives, to me, the most amazing faux wood grain effect. And this was actually a pretty popular video that got some of the most likes on it of any of the other videos that I had done. So again, like I said a few minutes ago, if you haven't already gave this a big thumbs up, I would really, really appreciate it if you would just reach down there right now and just click that little thumbs up button to support what I'm doing. And if you're not a subscriber, please do consider subscribing. I would love to have you become part of my family and see what I do. Now, this is it all done and finished. So make sure you leave me a comment and let me know what you think about this. And that was the bottom. I just love the way these turned out. I'll show you this decorated in a minute. My kitchen is real farmhousey with a bunch of roosters and chickens and things like that. We live out in the country. And this is me going back here and finishing up that smaller little tier tray. And I thought this one turned out really cute too. I think I like the smaller one better than the big one. And I don't know if it's just because I used the same color and it was more consistent than the bigger one, or what. Or maybe it's just because it's little and it's cute. Heck, I don't know why I liked it better, but I did. And in just a second, you'll see where I get it kind of all set up and show you what it looks like once it's all finished and decorated. But I was really proud of the way these turned out. And I have gotten so many comments on them from, my family and friends, whoever comes over. We don't have a whole lot of company right now with all this COVID mess going on. But that was how it looked when it was done. And I had some things sitting on top of it. And I just love, love, love the way these turned out. So again, be sure to tell me what you think about it. But I just wanted to show you what it looked like once they were all decorated. And I just thought they were so cute. I was kind of excited to get to share them again for my newer subscribers who may not have gone back into my older videos to watch some things that I had done in the beginning early on. And like I said, I've only been here for a couple of months now. So it's not like I've been here for a long time. But when I did these particular videos that you'll see in this particular set, it was some of my first ones that, like I said, didn't have very many likes, except for this particular set, these trays. Now, they were part of a challenge that I done. So they got a little bit more views than my normal ones. But definitely subscribe and become a part of my regular family, and you can see every time I upload something. When you subscribe, if you hit that little bell and click all, it'll notify you every time I upload something. And if you're a regular YouTube watcher or another crafter, then you pretty much know how that works anyway. I'm still learning all that kind of stuff. But let me know what you think about this. And we'll move on here to DIY number 3 in just a minute. Just had to show it off for a minute longer. All right, so let's get on right into DIY number 3. Okay, so for DIY number 3, this was one of my particular all-time favorites that I did. I took this picture that was from the spring from the Dollar Tree, and I took it apart and disassembled everything and took the little circle off of the square piece and painted the little circle white, trimmed it out in a little blue that you'll see in a minute, and then put a piece of scrapbook paper that I got at Hobby Lobby for $1 on it. Now, when I painted my frame, I painted it white, and then I distressed it pretty heavily with some blue. That was my original thought, but once I got it done, it was just way too blue. So you'll see me go back in just a few minutes and put some more white over the top of it. Well, I had put so much blue on it that the blue was still showing through. So you'll see me a little further into it add some more white over the top of that. Well, sort of really distressing it back in white again, if that makes sense. Hopefully, when you look at it in a minute, you'll see what I'm talking about. But I got the frame way too blue. I was real heavy-handed and it just was too much. So anyway, I have this little star, not a star, snowflake ornament that I got from the Dollar Tree, and then a little snowflake sticker that came in the pack of those stickers that you can get that I painted. And I took the little sticker and glued it on top of the big snowflake ornament. And then I took some white and sort of distressed the little ornament down. And then I took that scrapbook paper and put it in the middle of, no, this is where I go back and put some more white on top of that blue. You see how much blue was on there? I mean, even once I repainted it white, there's still like a ton of blue shining through. So it was some pretty heavy blue. And really all I did was distress with it. It wasn't like I painted it blue, but it was very dominant. So I just go back in and dry it with my little heat gun because I'm very impatient. And then if you look at the edges of that scrapbook paper in just a minute, you'll see where the edges have a different design than the middle. So that's why I'll end up cutting out the middle. But then I took some of that blue and distressed around the edge of the white to give that just a tiny, tiny bit of blue on the edges. And then I took my snowflake ornament and then my little snowflake sticker and put them together. And then there's where I'm using the very middle of the paper. And it seems wasteful, but the edges were like I don't know, they were shaded or shadowed, or I know there's a word, but I can't think of the word. But anyway, I just ended up using the very middle and Mod Podged that down to use as my background. And I love, love, love this scrapbook paper. It is so stinking cute, and it went perfect with the little circle being painted white and then the two little snowflakes on top. So make sure you leave a comment and let me know what you think about this and how it turned out. I forgot to tell you that I did go back in and Mod Podge the top of that scrapbook paper too. It just gives it a little finish on top and make sure that everything is just super smooth when you're done. And then here is where I go back in with some white paint and distressed it, if you will. Like I said, there was still so much of that blue shining through that then I was able to use the white to sort of distress it. And this is how it turned out. And I just thought it was just so stinking cute. And like I said, it's still one of my favorite Christmas items that I have done. So be sure to leave me a comment and let me know what you think about this and the other two projects that I done this week, or rewound and showed you that I done. And again, if you're not a subscriber, I would enjoy it if you would join our family, and be so honored if you would subscribe, like, give me a big thumbs up. Feel free to share it. I would love it if you share it and get my name out there and help my channel grow. You can also find me on Facebook and Instagram, as well as here on YouTube, all at Monner's Market. So go look for me over there. You can find some sneak peeks of what's coming up next week on my Instagram and Facebook toward the end of the week. So you guys have a very, very Merry Christmas. Thank you for coming, and God bless you all.